Hey there, it's Coach Patrick here from Endurance Nation. Welcome to another weekly broadcast where I sit down with you and talk a little bit about insights to how you can become a better athlete for endurance events, whether it's multi-sport events, endurance cycling, gravel, mountain biking, etc. Principles remain the same, strategies a little bit different depending on the venue. And you get a chance to sit down with me and tap into 20 years of racing knowledge and experience. Not 20 years of being a physiologist, not 20 years of being, locked in a room writing articles for websites. 20 years of actually coaching athletes. More than 10,000 athletes have come through Endurance Nation, and I'm happy to share some of those insights with you as well. Apologies for the setup today. Daylight savings time, kind of throwing a monkey wrench into positioning of the sunlight and my recording studio and my very petite recording studio. So a little bit of a different view this time around. So thanks for understanding. All right. Today, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about what it means to peak for early season races. And if I look over to the side here, I've got some notes, so bear with me. So there's 4 key points that I want to address with you today. Think about early season performance. First of all, you need to understand that there's a lot of opportunity here in your early season races. So people generally lament their inability to put together training and what their peak performance was like last year, which is the result of several months of work. Well, 9 months of training for a race actually smooths out a lot of the problems that you experience across an entire year, not just the beginning of the year. Although admittedly, the beginning of the year is one of the harder times of the year to put together quality training. So, you have my condolences with the stress that you faced and the challenges that you're existing under, but you're not alone. Everyone that you're racing against has been in that same thing. At the same time, we have an opportunity because we're not carrying all of the fatigues. Those 9 months didn't just bring fitness, they also brought a great deal of fatigue. It's the risk reward continuum that lives inside of, that we coexist with. It's our oxygen, it's our carbon dioxide. And as that ratio gets out of balance over the course of a year, and the longer we play the game, the odds of us messing something up, they just go up, my friends, right? You fly a plane once, you're like, yeah, what are the odds of me crashing? You fly a plane 1,000,000 times, I don't know, number goes up, right? So there you are. So with that said, and with that ridiculously risky example laid out to you, let me talk about these 4 points, 4 things you can focus on. Make sure you're peaking appropriately for your early season race. All right, let's do this. Number 1, making sure that you've actually got the right amount of training volume in your system. Now, again, we don't have a full block of a season to work with, but what can we do? We can make sure that from a duration perspective, your weekly volume is double what your current race target time is. So if you're going to do a 5-hour half Ironman, then you should be training about 10 hours a week. If you're looking to do a 10-hour Ironman, you should be able to do about 20 hours of training in a week. It's a lot, I know, for early in the season, but you don't have to do it for super long time. We're not looking to go into this race with all of that fatigue. We're just trying to say, how can we be physiologically and mentally ready for that load? I myself am heading into the 200-miler at Unbound Gravel. I'm predicting it's going to take me like 12 to 14 hours of time to do that race. As a result, I need to be able to do a 24 to 28-hour week somewhere in there before that race. I probably won't get to 28, but if I can get to 24, I'd be pretty darn happy with it. That'd probably be pretty good enough for me. I'm at 14 hours right now, so I've got 10 more hours to cram into a training week. I do have a rest day right now, so I can jiggle things around if I need to, but I've still got time. I've got 2 more months until race day, and I've got a training camp coming up before now and then, so I should be all right. But just understand the parameters of the volume that you can work with to do your best to get to that point. So ideally, if there's a 6-week block for the last 4 weeks, or so for weeks 6 down to the end of week 3, those 4 weeks, you're at that double the race duration volume type. Okay. The second key point I want to talk to you about is the race-specific preparation. Now, what we're going to do during those 4 weeks before we do the taper in the 2 weeks, in those 4 weeks, we're going to work on incorporating race-specific efforts into your longer sessions. I'm not talking about Tuesdays and going hard in Tuesday intervals or Tuesday hard runs if you're a multi-sport athlete. I'm saying, hey, for those Saturday and Sunday workouts, the longer ones on your schedule, you have to begin to start to incorporate race-specific efforts in the context of that volume. So if you're doing a 2.5-hour ride, then spending time at race-specific intervals matters. And ideally, you can expand that time across these 4 weeks. So if you're doing 3 hours on the weekend, for example, for 4 weekends in a row, we're going to gradually increase from, say, 30 minutes to 40 minutes to 50 minutes, maybe even up to 60 minutes of race pace efforts. You can break them up as needed into those longer rides. Bonus points if you want to structure those longer rides to mimic the course experience you're expecting. Easier in the beginning for a downhill start, steeper in the beginning or harder in the beginning for those uphills, right? Whatever it is, you can kind of be a little nuanced with the course, whether you're indoors or out, and how you distribute your effort to make sure that you're getting in there ready. But either way, you want to make sure you're doing those race-specific efforts and those long things. As we get closer and closer to race, if you're doing multi-sport, practice the bike to run transition. But otherwise, I'm talking about single sport. So you got to pick, if you're a triathlete, am I focusing on the bike or am I focusing on the run? Most of the time, I tell people to focus on the bike early in the year because the run legs aren't just quite there yet, but it's up to you what you want to do. All right. Number 3, the third thing we have to think about here is nutrition strategy. So I will admit that there is another downside to your year. And the other downside to the early part of your season is that, oh my goodness, you're not ready to do the nutrition. Like literally unprepared to do the type of nutrition you need to do. Not in a I'm being irresponsible kind of way, but you just haven't had the trial and errors that come with putting together a good nutrition plan. Typically, most people will mess up 1 or 2 times on key rides or races even. So by the time I get to that important race, like, I got locked down. So you may not be just there yet. If you aren't, start working in that workout nutrition, get it up to race specific levels. So if you know you're going to be consuming 200 calories an hour on race day, start practicing it in your training. If you know you need to do 1.5 bottles per hour on race day, start doing it in your training. If you're not upping the nutrition effort inside your workouts in these last 6 weeks, you will definitely be unprepared. Even if you are physiologically ready, if you cannot feel yourself for that beyond the 2-hour window that most endurance events contain, you're going to be in a heck of a lot of trouble, regardless of how you execute or how your pacing works. Okay. So we want to get that early season nutrition in. And without a doubt, I do recommend having something left for the last 90 minutes of your race. Now, typically it's the last 30 minutes of a race, depending on the duration. Most races about 30 minutes, which is sort of the big window of like, how do I get through this last 30 minutes? Early season races, I'm going to call it 90. Maybe I'm being a little conservative here, but the last 90 minutes of whatever it is you're doing is just going to be the worst because you're way too far away from the finish line and you're nowhere near it, but nutrition can still make a difference. Make sure you get something special in your back pocket for that one. All right. And the fourth and final bullet point here is mental preparation. Now, again, we don't have the ups and downs of a full season behind us to have the confidence that we know we're going to be excellent. But ideally, this isn't your first rodeo. If you're racing in March or April, odds are this isn't just on a whim or you lost a bet. You've done this before. So if you've been there before, step back and take a look at what you did before to gain confidence on what you're capable of doing, even if you're not physiologically there yet. So mentally, we want to dip into those experience points to pull out some of that confidence. Second, you do want to take a look at your most recent errors or mistakes. What are things that you've done in the past that just weren't great? Whether it's related to travel or race day decision-making or equipment maintenance, whatever it may be, just pause on those moments right now and let's make sure they don't exist anymore, right? So if you forgot to, change those stems on your gravel bike to be able to inflate your tires for the last race, let's make sure those stems are in working order. Let's get them good. If you have that same mistake twice, shame on you, right? It's not about bad luck. It's just bad decision-making, right? Okay, so we want to make sure those things are eliminated. And then finally, what we really want to focus on in an early season race is just rapid decision-making. There's no right decision really, but quick decisions matter. So if you're having a problem with your gut, quickly decide what it is you're going to do relative to nutrition, where you are and how you want to handle it. If you're struggling with the pace or with your heart rate, quickly make a decision, execute for 15 minutes, check back, see where you're at, right? So instead of just getting into the instant lament mode, which is what a lot of early season athletes do, because they haven't developed the mental resolve yet to be like, this sucks, but it's hard. And I signed up to do something hard. How do I adjust? Which is what I would think an experienced athlete would be likely to do. Less experienced athletes are like, oh, I can't believe this is happening to me right now. Why me? Why, like, how is this who decided I would have the gut problem today? Like everyone else looks fine around me, which by the way, they're totally not. And I just have to struggle through this all on my own, which is not the case at all. It's like, that doesn't matter. Like save that for after the race. You're like, woe is you, like do it with a foil blanket on. Don't do it when you're wearing a race kit and you're out here trying to get something done. So be really mindful of that as you get into this environment, that you want to make sure that you're really taking those quick actions. And again, we can debrief after the race to really get through it all. And then finally, those last 90 minutes. Remember that with the nutrition side? It's still here on the mental toughness side. I really need you to be prepared, and I recommend that you be prepared to really dig deep into your bag of one things here as we get to those last 90 minutes. Again, typically, as you develop mental and physical toughness, races don't get hard until the very last portion, last 15%, 10%. Early in the season, we don't have those reserves right now. And so as a result, you're going to have to dig a little deeper when you don't want to, be a little more surprised, right? And so we have to think about it like that. So much like your favorite horror movie where the bad guy continues to live, even though seems to have died several times or been killed off or lost at sea or whatever your bad guy does in your movie, the bad guy is going to show up a bunch of times here in this race, and you have to be prepared for it. You have to work through it. You have to stay focused on the things that you can control, and then get forward. So even if your race course shrinks from here to the next aid station, it's like from here for 1 more mile on your bike computer, or to the next telephone pole, just running down that road, or whatever it may be for you. Focus on that, keep moving forward, and really tap into that, not just the mental reserves, but maybe a little caffeine, maybe a little sugar. Sometimes glycogen, blood sugar, can really make a big difference here in those last critical moments. Don't be judgy on yourself for being in this situation, because everyone's in this situation. It's an early season race, and what makes them so hard. At the same time, recognize this is an opportunity for you to try something new, or to reinvigorate and to put on fast track the things that you took out of last year already as your lessons learned. So I'm excited for your early season races, but I want you to understand it's not going to be a cakewalk. You might be looking at the competition, but instead I want you to focus internally and understand that your ability to focus on the things you can control from these last 6 weeks of training, to work on the race pacing, race nutrition, and then your race mental attitude, are going to make the biggest differential, not only going into the remainder of this year, not only on this race course, but long-term as well, as you get stronger and smarter, which is the ultimate combination that we are looking for here inside Endurance Nation. Thanks for tuning in to this quick lesson on how to get ready for early season race peaking. I hope it was helpful for you. If it wasn't specific enough, find me on social media. Ask questions, put it on the Instagram, put it on Facebook, wherever you may find us. I'm happy to help you out. I always get those comments directed to me. And I usually, if you leave an email address in there somewhere, I'll even respond back to you and get you dialed in. All right. Or tell me, and I'll answer it in a podcast episode coming up soon. All right. Thanks again so much. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Until then, be well, be safe, be healthy, get out there, be tough. All right. See ya.